Okay, fine. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
This Batman quote sums up the gist of what we are going to be talking about in this video. So sit down, grab a popcorn and enjoy the breakdown of one of the most iconic superheroes. But before we move forward, don't forget to subscribe to our channel with the notification bell on. Batman is more than just a superhero, comic or movie. It is an idea, one that so many people in the world resonate with, idealize or even just talk about. Personally, Batman is my favorite. But like everything in the world, Batman too is political, which I'm going to be taking you through today. For the sake of this discussion, we are going to consider the Nolan trilogy. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, along with the newest Batman flick, The Batman. So let's get into the breakdown, shall we? Batman has been around for 81 years, with the first appearance of the superhero being in 1939. The character has experienced a variety of mental and physical transformation throughout the years. Batman and the world of Gotham has altered, developed and evolved at the same pace that the real world has. While watching the newest Batman movie, we noticed a phenomenon. The political language of the movie shatters the fourth wall between fantasy and reality. When actors use politically correct language like check your privilege, you instantly escape the fantasy world you have been living in, and suddenly Batman becomes a real human with privilege, problems and politics. According to Batman's origin story, he devotes his entire adult life to battling criminals as a kind of retribution for seeing his parents being robbed and killed on the streets of Gotham when he was a little kid. Gotham City is supposed to be a broken, haunted place, the manifestation of urban decay and inner city violence, a city that had his parents killed. In the real world, we all pay taxes and that is how we give back to the society we live in. We follow rules and present ourselves in a reasonable manner to be a social element. But Batman is different. He has a vast fortune and is almost anti-social. He will support any candidate who stands up for what is best for the city and is not a corrupt puppet of a crime boss. He wants what is best for Gotham, even if it comes at cost. That begs the question, why does he not donate his wealth to causes that can clean up Gotham? Why does he instead spend on luxurious weapons and shields and vehicles? Many argue that most of what Batman does is altruistic. Abhishek, do you know what altruistic means?
Oh, I really don't know.
I'm pretty sure most of you also don't know, so editor, please put the meaning here. Alright, moving forward. Batman is altruistic both as a philanthropist and in the millions of dollars he sinks into fighting crime and protecting others. Generally speaking, however, he doesn't give much thought to politics. His work consumes too much of his life to worry about whether or not a tax on fruit goes up by 3%. Yet, he also understands that much of the menace in Gotham is because of the amount of money the elite held around themselves, including his own dad, Thomas Wayne. In Batman Begins, Wayne denies the fact that he has a problem and refuses to even discuss it. The continual repression of his inner demons only heightens its volatility, weakens the strength of his moral code, and makes him dangerous in times of emotional passion. His internal politics pit him in a choice versus destiny plot. But in Dark Knight, his internal battle is between corruption and trust. The Joker works as a force of corruption against Batman, Gordon, and Dent. Batman's method of fighting crime is so radically outside the law that the police are unable to justify his actions despite their helplessness. The Joker shines light on the politics of Batman. He tries to force the Batman into killing him, thus corrupting the Dark Knight. While ultimately he fails, it unveils never seen before demonization of the superhero. And in The Dark Knight Rises, it's despair versus hope. When Bane throws Bruce into his prison, he tells Bruce,
"Learned here that there can be no true despair without hope."
The main struggle in the movie is about whether or not this is true, whether despair needs hope to thrive, or whether hope can overcome despair, even when all seems lost. So Abhishek, which of the three movies is your favorite?
I really like The Dark Knight Rises.
Why is Dark Knight Rises?
Bane is too kick-ass.
I love the way the Joker was portrayed in Dark Knight, man. Which one's your favorite? Please comment down below and tell us. This brings us to the newest release, the movie that promoted this discussion, The Batman. The Riddler forces him to confront his anguish over his parents' death as well as the Wayne family's undiscovered corruption. Suddenly, it's all too real. Let me ask you a question. What is the difference between Batman and Joker? Both orphan kids, both faced a great deal of childhood trauma, both want to clean up the system. The difference, however, is their approach. While Joker put himself at stake to clean up Gotham in his own weirdly psychotic ways, Batman was privileged enough to think of himself as a superhero and spend enough to make himself one. But Batman is not ordinary. He is a symbol. Not a symbol of trust, but of hope. He is a vigilant but also an optimist. In the current society, would we be cheering on an optimistic vigilant this loudly? Maybe not. But that is the allure of a superhero, the distinction between real and real. Over the previous decade, Batman has progressed by adding more dark, gritty, and gothic characters, incredible technology, and real world political issues. And as the stories become darker, they become closer to reality. And every once in a while, they hold up a mirror for us to see our own lives and environment in the horrific reflection of Gotham. As fans of the character, there is a lot to be hopeful and excited about. Maybe we will see a Batman movie where he saves Gotham, or a movie where he hangs up his boots and enters the real world, or even a movie where he enters the metaverse. Oh, and on that note, make sure to check out our previous video on the metaverse. It gives you a complete understanding of how it's going to shape our future. With this, we come to the end of this breakdown. If you like this video, please make sure you drop a comment and tell us what you would like to see next. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel with the notification bell on so that you can stay updated on our later videos. Abhishek, what do you think of this?
This is an amazing breakdown, man. I'm just gonna go and watch all the Batman movies.
Same. I hope you also like this. Thank you so much.